We have to reclaim that oracle within and not let ourselves be suppressed, but allow this beautiful divine energy to step forward and to shine a light upon this earth, to bring more love, to bring more compassion. So I just thought that was a reflection of the collective, I guess, that we're all going through at this moment, finding our own oracle, reclaiming it, and speaking it
Yeah.
out into reality.
Welcome to the Spiritual Quest podcast, a transformative journey where we step into a world of wonder and exploration, seeking answers to profound questions. Why am I here? What is my mission in life? And how can I make a positive impact in this world? Join me and my inspiring guests on a spiritual quest to fully embrace your uniqueness and speak your truth with grace and gratitude. I am your host, Vibecke Garnaas, always guided by spirit.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the Spiritual Quest podcast, where today we are opening our hearts for divine love, and we're actually taking a walk the sacred path of twin flame union. And this is actually a chapter in a new beautiful book that just released. And I have one of the co-authors here, Sheila Applegate, and she's here to tell us all about it and share about her beautiful chapter that I just read. And I'm very, very curious. So let's invite Sheila on. Hello and welcome, Sheila.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so honored that you decided to come back. I love having you on. You're like a returning guest. I
Of
love
course,
your
I came
spirit.
back. I love you.
I love you too. And in that note, I would love for you to share, for those who do not know who you are, would you please summarize, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move further on to your newest book. So please, who is Sheila Applegate?
Well, I am a spiritual seer, healer, channel, author, and teacher. I am in central New York. I'm the mother of two beautiful adult children, and I just love helping people to connect with their higher levels of consciousness.
Hmm. That's how I know you because we were connected. I found you on Wisdom from North, and after that, we have had several podcasts together, and I've really gotten to know you. So I consider you my friend. And so when you just shared about this new book, so let's go into this new book. What is it called, and what is it about?
It's the Magdalene Oracle, and it is a culmination of people who have worked with the Mary Magdalene energy from around the world. And everyone in it tells their story or a story of their journey and offers a special tool that has helped them that was connected through Mary Magdalene. And it's just such an amazing experience to have been in because these are women from around the world with all different backgrounds and stories. But when the book came together, and we didn't know each other, I knew a couple of the people in the book, but and in the most part, we kind of independently wrote our sections. But when you read the book as a collective, there is no question that there is one divine feminine frequency that we call Magdalene that is moving through the entire book. Because even though there are different experiences, different stories, there are variations to it, but her frequency is so profound that reading the book for the first time for me was this beautiful affirmation experience.
The title, it's the Magdalene Oracle, Awakening the Power of the Rose. And in that title, there's some really powerful words that I would love for you to share your take on and what you perceive this means in our day and age. So there's one word, oracle, for those who might not know what that is, and the rose, what that symbolizes. So let's start with the title because it's a beautiful title. Would you please share what does this mean?
Yeah. So, as you asked that, I'm not sure I've ever looked up an actual definition of an oracle, but the vibration or what I felt being invited to be a part of this book is that it's a sacred document that is giving witness to many different wisdoms that have been brought together into one space. So, and to me, it also is about placing it in history, right? Bringing it forward into a time to be captured in that sacred space for people to discover now or whenever they come upon it. So there's a sort of mysticism to that word for me. Um, and the rose, I think, has often been associated with Magdalene and the divine feminine. So it has to me, it's sort of about the unfolding of the rose, the opening, and that is the awakening. And right now, more than ever, I think that this is a sacred imprint that we need upon the world, because the divine feminine, which is in all of us, we all have a divine feminine and divine masculine side within us. But throughout history, we've seen the rise of the masculine energy, sometimes maladapted energy in the female, where they're adapting to that fierceful masculine energy. But now we're returning to bring that divine feminine up into harmony, because that is what's going to help us move past this time in history where things feel so disruptive.
Hmm. That resonates with me, your perspective on that. And I was reflecting as you were speaking about the oracle. Um, I can't recall specifically where I read it, but in early times, there were female oracles, right? That
Mm.
the males would use to receive divine guidance and to bring that. And I think there's many stories around that, but I think it's a very essential one to just reflect upon in these times, that the stories that I've read mention that these oracles, these women, were placed in sacred places and were taken away from the public and be an honor, and then look at it whatever way you want it, but was captivated, or should I say almost imprisoned of the masculine energy in order to serve their purpose. So they were being used for the masculine energy. I don't know if you've heard this, Sheila, or you've read the same, but this is at least something that does it resonate with you, what I'm
Yeah,
sharing?
it totally resonates. I had not thought of it because it was a book. I was thinking of it in its use to a book, but I hadn't really put that piece together and how beautiful that is.
And that's
So
reclaiming our power. And that's what I'm all about
yeah.
in this session. Like, we have to reclaim that oracle within and not let ourselves be suppressed, but allow this beautiful divine energy to step forward and to shine a light upon this earth, to bring more love, to bring more compassion. So I just thought that was a reflection of the collective, I guess, that we're all going through at this moment, finding our own oracle, reclaiming it, and speaking it
Yeah.
out into reality, right? And I think also the rose that you said, the petals opening, it's like a flourishing of a new era. And it's also bringing more of your fractal nature into wholeness. Like, you can see the different parts coming in and creating this beautiful flower. And then with that bulb in the middle, that just shining and bringing that scent of life that is being seeding this planet with its sweetness. I just thought, and reading your chapter, I really felt that. I was moved by it.
Mm.
So
Oh, that's
let's
beautiful.
let's first of all, how did you get this opportunity? We talk about divine timing, and we talk about that there is no coincidences. So let's start there. So how did you come to get this honor of writing this chapter?
Well, I was invited in by Angela, the head author. I actually also, my partner Zach and I were a part of a previous Oracle about the Oracle of Healing. So she invited me in, and I think, Vibecke, you know how this is. I had a different agenda, right? Like, it was not my plan. I am very close to completing another book that I'm writing, and my path was going to be like, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get it out to publishing, and this invitation comes in. And my physical self wants to say, no, that's not good timing, you know. But Magdalene came in and she's like, no, you're going to do this. We're not putting an oracle out without you. So I was like, and so, you know, I definitely get, you know, strong armed into things from my guidance at times. Not really, I exaggerate that. But once I started participating in it, it far exceeded the experience and beauty that I imagined, because of the synergy between all of the other authors. And also because, as you have read my chapter, I challenged myself to share a part of my life that, while I have referenced, I have not shared in this detail with many people.
I
So,
must say it was very strong, very powerful, and it was very moving. So for me, it was healing. Putting all that together, that's a form of healing to me. And to see and experience both your grief, I think, and how we can feel and sense fear as we are moving
mhm,
through life, fear of loss for our
mhm,
loved ones, because we are speaking of a sacred path of twin flame union. So let's go there, shall we? Because it's a beautiful story. So, without giving away the chapter, because you truly have to read the chapter and just sit with it and, you know, take it in within your own vibration and feel it. But you can sense the connection of the twin flame, but also the connection you have with Magdalena, right? So
mhm.
it's yeah, I don't, I'm not going to use too many words because I don't want to ruin ruin it. But would you share a little bit about your chapter and what made you decide to share this very strong, empowering message through your chapter?
Yeah. So we'll start with Magdalene or Magdalena. She is a being that I have been connected to throughout my whole life. And so I have a very personal connection to her, beginning in childhood. There's um, memories in my childhood of Jesus Christ Superstars, where I fell in love with Magdalene. And I used to stand on a little stool that my grandmother had embroidered. And I would sing her songs and I would feel her essence in me long before I could have any words for what I was experiencing. And then in high school, looking back now from where I am in high school, I used to go to bed at night when I had an exam or like an essay to write for school. You probably did this too or something similar, but I wouldn't write it. Like, if I didn't have it in my head, I would just go to sleep and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night at some point and I would write the essay. So that happened with this assignment that we had in high school, where the English teacher had told us to write an essay about a 10-foot pole. And that was the only assignment. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote the story of the crucifixion from using the pole as part of the cross. And I wrote it from the perspective of his beloved. And I was like, oh, this is a good essay, you know. And then I read it in class, and because they had us read it out loud, and I read it, and the whole class went silent. And that's when I was like, oh, there's something more here. You know, this isn't just an English essay. So she has been close to me. By the time this chapter starts, we'd been close throughout my life. I had been doing spiritual readings, communicating through meditation with my own guides. So I did already have a connection with Magdalene. But I was going through a very difficult time on many levels. But the twin flame journey that we'll get into, as you said, was one of the most challenging journeys for me because it takes you to the core. Like everything, it teaches everything from who am I as a collective, who am I as a divine being, what are my shadows that I don't want to see that are now in front of me, and am I worthy of deep love, and am I capable of unconditional love? So the chapter starts with Magdalene appearing to me and then guiding me through a portion of that journey.
It it sounded like, or when I was reading it, I felt you and I felt your story. Um, so to me, it felt like you were having a very hard time. It was a it was a time of suffering in some ways. um, Even though you did have your twin flame present within your life. And so, for many people, that might be interesting. So, why don't we try to define what twin flames is
Mm-hmm.
and why do you think they are in your life based on your perspective on it and your experience?
Right. So for me, the best way for me to describe a twin flame and how I like to talk about this is if we think about oneness, God, creator, whatever that is, divine oneness, and then oneness starts to divide, like while still staying oneness. But if we think of cell division, like in the birthing of a child, the cell divides and becomes two, but it's making more of a whole. It's not separating, right? So then we go from oneness to alpha and omega, or the divine masculine and feminine in that division, and then it keeps dividing out until we are our individual soul that we see ourselves as on earth. So to me, the twin flame is literally that last aspect of God or oneness that we separated from before becoming the individual soul that we are. And um, I talk about it that way because since the time that I write about in the book, I have been working with people with twin flames from around the world. Twin flames was not a common language back when this happened. People didn't talk about it, but now they are. And they often mix it up with romance, right? It's like the ultimate romance that we could have. But that's not the reality. Your twin flame can come in as a child, as a parent. It can be best friends. You cannot have a physical world relationship with your twin flame, even if they're on Earth. All of those things are possible. It is a soul path of learning to or remembering that unconditional love that's always with you. But it's challenging when you are in an ongoing physical world relationship with your twin flame. It is the most sacred and the most challenging energy on earth, I think.
So, what would you say then, through your perspective, was Jesus and Magdalena were they twin flames? Would you say that?
Yeah, yes. That has been my understanding for a long time. A lot of what I learned about Magdalene, really what I learned through her in communication with her. But other people also, I think, have that understanding, and she definitely gave me that answer as yes, that they were, and it was the combination of them in harmony with each other that allowed many of the miracles that we credit Jesus for. It's actually that, like we were talking about, it really is the divine feminine and the divine masculine in harmony that amplifies our power to create and to perform things that we may consider miracles.
Mm.
And by taking that aspect out of the story, it has really reduced people's um, ability to connect with the divine in their fullness for decades, or I mean, centuries.
Mm. Do you believe that that was a conscious decision to change that story? If we're then thinking about the oracles and what happened to them?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's be honest. We need to hear the
Right, yeah,
truth. Let's
yeah.
just share
So
it. Let's go there.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I think of the fact that I think the Bible, it's like the Roman version of the Bible that became most prominent, right? And the Romans were Jesus's suppressor, so we really should remember that. um, but beyond that, there is documented evidence. They have over my lifetime, they pulled up the Dead Sea Scrolls, which have the actual original writings. There is a Gospel of Magdalene that never made it into the Bible that people know. In the 6th century, that is when a pope actually changed the story of Magdalene in the Bible by taking 3 different women, references to 3 different women, and bringing them into one person that they call Magdalene. And that is when she got the reputation for being a prostitute, because that wasn't the same woman even in the Bible.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's like
I don't think that was an accident.
no, and it's time now. We're ascending, and ascension to me means that we are ready to open up for the truth, the divine nature of who we are. So it's nothing outside, it's inside. So we're opening up to more of that divine love. And to be able to do that, she is there to guide us. She is the caretaker, call it that, of that vibration for us, gifting us that. And so as we are connect to Jesus as a master, we should definitely in these times, as we're embracing our divine feminine, honor her and the energy of vibration that she's been holding and giving and gifting us for centuries, and not having the recognition, because it's not about that. That's the 3D way of life, but just us reawakening to that power of love within us, and knowing that we can all tap into that and we are all guided. And it might just bring some more hope into a very challenging earthly experience at these times, with all of these transitional winds swooping over Mother Earth. We need some really powerful reinforcement, and she's gifting us that just by us remembering who we are. And I think that was beautiful in your chapter, because it is about remembrance, and you beautifully describe that within your own journey, the remembrance of your twin flame as well. Once again, I'm not going to give away your story, but let's talk about the sacred path of twin flames. What does that look like, and what does it mean?
Mhm. So the sacred path of twin flames is really remembering that you are whole, that you are already whole. Um, and if your twin flame is on earth and you're in relationship with them, that gives a depth of substance where you also remember that you are your own self, and yet you are more than yourself. So what I call horizontal oneness is when we remember we're connected to everyone, and to Gaia, to plants, to animals. Um, and having another person on earth who is independent thinking, and in many cases very different in upbringing from each other or life experiences, but who is you, who knows you, who thinks like you, who can who can see deep inside of you, and yet has free will to make other choices. So it's like a part of you, and you know that, but they're making their own choices. And that is, if anything, a deep journey into remembering oneness with other people, right? To feeling it, to experiencing it, not just as a theory, but oh, we are all so connected. And we can do that with other people. We can do that with soulmates. We can do it with ourselves. We can connect to the divine twin flame energy through meditation. We don't need to seek out our twin flame. I certainly didn't. I didn't. I didn't even know. I was like talking to a friend who was in meditation classes with me back early on, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on in this situation. And she's like, he's your twin flame. And I said, what is that? She's like, you were sitting next to me in class when we learned about that. I had totally veiled it over because I didn't it was a part of my life experience that I probably wasn't ready for. But
Yes. And I think it's the way you describe it, the twin flame, I think it can be pretty challenging for most people. I'm just thinking about myself, my soul enigma. I've spent so many times trying to understand myself, and I still don't understand myself, Sheila, because every time I think I figured it something out, a new soul aspect comes to life. Like Celeste from the Pleiadian Star Beings just activated through my writing process, and I started to speak light language. Who knew? I was like, and I finally understood, like, okay, I will never understand myself. But thinking about having a twin flame and having that in your life as well, whoa, with all your soul aspects, and then a twin flame, this earthly experience became very much more than just the human journey. It becomes like a collective. It's something much, much grander in experience, I would say. It's more like understanding shifting realities, understanding where we are, activating all the dimensionalities within ourselves. And it's like kind of playing that harmonic, because when you were speaking about twin flames, all I could kind of feel and sense was it's the harmony of just knowing. It's no questions about the other person. It's just like being naked and just you know all about me. There's no need to any secrets. And I think that you really need to love yourself without wanting to kind of hide in our society.
right.
So I would presume for people who have twin flames, you could share more about that, but that would be a challenge. So let me ask you, what was the most challenging aspect to your connection as twin flames?
The intensity. I think what you're talking about. It's the intensity of it. And all the levels that I had to learn to love, and all the different forms of that to move it beyond form, and to really, in my situation, it wasn't, we didn't put ourselves in a life situation where it was easy to try to confine it to one form over the period of time that we were together. So we were able to experience each other, and we were forced not to confine it to one form. I think that for most people that come to me, I'm talking about it on here, but I don't advertise that I work with twin flames because there's so many misconceptions of twin flames. I don't want to encourage that seeking of or some of the maladaptive energy around that, but twin flames from around the world seem to find me. And I work with them. And so the most challenging piece when I look at the whole spectrum of the people that I've worked with is that loving beyond form, no matter what. And letting your own free will expand or surrender. Like, it's that I trying to hold on to your own identity, your own beliefs, and it's so close to unhealthy relationships that's why it's such a, because in a different situation, saying those words, letting go of your free will, letting go of your own beliefs, that would be a very unhealthy, dangerous relationship to be in. But because the soul connection is so deep, it supersedes all of that, because the union, the love, and the energetic commitment that you're both aligned with the divine makes all that possible in a way that if you just go over a little bit. I used to work, when I was a therapist, I worked in a shelter for domestic violence. And so I know about domestic violence. And if people are putting it into romantic energy or trying to stuff it in there, it's a very fine line between, because your twin flame can poke you. Like, whether they realize it or not, they know everything about you and they can see it. It's not like you look at someone and you suddenly know everything. It's like when it comes up, you know it, right? So any little tiny frequency of lying to yourself, the twin flame is going to call you out on it, because they're going to feel it in themselves. So
that brings me into a question, actually. As I was reading a chapter, not trying to give it away, so I'm not trying to tell too much. I have to think. But let's go there. There was a traumatic event that happened, right? That was very painful. And as you've described, you're like one, you're sensing, feeling everything. So you knew about this traumatic event before it happened, right? And so the pain of knowing that something was about to unfold, how was that to navigate as a human being? And how can we navigate that?
I think people navigate that in different ways as humans. I think the answer to this question is grace. Because without grace, the human mind can't prepare for trauma, you know, and the surrealness of staying in that state of grace and allowing things to unfold. It comes from something that is not within us, but a part of us.
So that made you seek this connection with Magdalena, right? She came in through these difficult times to navigate this. So nobody in the physical world could understand what you were going through. But when you went inside, you opened your heart, and there she was. And she would guide you. And I think that is what was so moving about this chapter, because you're showing that we can navigate hurt and pain and suffering and trauma as human beings if we allow ourselves the grace to connect with that deep love that is all encompassing. I mean, that's what we are, and going into that union again, right? And I thought that was such a beautiful expression in your chapter. And I must say, you're a wonderful writer, because you do use, it's just like a poetry. You're just being taken here and there, and it's just a flow in your chapter. But I think that also, it's an honor to you, but I think it's also your ability to connect with that love, that creativity that you just allow yourself to channel. And I think that allowance part is such a key component in these transitional times, that we don't try to suppress, we don't try to move away from what is naturally unfolding. And I think people shouldn't go looking for things. We don't need to look for it, right? It's there. We just have to allow it. But it's easier than to know, well, let's ask you this, Sheila. How do we allow it?
Yeah. Well, for me, meditation is a huge path. That's how I learned to connect with the divine and Magdalene. Although I say I did it as a child without knowing. But for me, the path of meditation helps me connect most deeply with the divine energies. And that's active meditation where we're in communion. I think it is important. And I like the way you said, like, she was the only one that understood. I do want to acknowledge that I had some people in my life who would listen to me and did their very best to understand and stay open to the journey, but they weren't going through the same thing. So Magdalene not only came in from that state of already being in union, and remembering that union, but also from that state of grace to help guide me in a way that humans around me weren't capable of yet. So opening up to your divine, allowing that, and everyone's going to have their own journey and it unfolds. And this was, it's a section condensed to one chapter in a book, but it was years and years and years of my life. So it's not a simple process, but it's that conviction to always growing and moving forward. And it is the path during those years of processing all of this, and navigating life on earth with my twin flame. That's how I opened up to know and communicate with my soul. I have the program Consciously Awesome where I help people connect and moving up to the divine grace of Alpha and Omega and oneness. I did that. I got there through the twin flame journey. Not everybody's has to go through it through the twin flame journey, but by her being there and guiding me through, that's the path she took me on. So I guess the last piece of that would be consider the divine beings your friends. Like you said, you just named another being that's come to join with you. And when Celeste, is that what you said? Mm-hmm. Celeste. When she comes in, you don't think of her as all high and mighty and let me bow to her. You're like, hey, a new buddy. How can we serve each other, right? Yes. I think having that attitude and that remembrance that they are like a part of us, our friends, makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think in these times, again, I know I'm speaking about these times, but I'm so focused on all the shifting of energies at this time. And so there's a lot of energy in motion, and not all of it is for our highest good. And so being conscious of what you choose to focus on, I think it's essential in these times. And I think that's why this book is such a beautiful gift to give to humanity, also because it gives you different perspectives. There's many co-authors. They are sharing their own perspective on this, and it's bringing you into the sacred space where you as co-author are holding space for people to explore their own connection. And I think that's beautiful, and I think we need more of that. For me, that's the most compassionate thing we can give people, is to hold space so that they can explore their own divinity and find their own light, to be honest, right? At least that's how I feel. But let's share where they can find this beautiful meditation. I don't remember what it was called, but you can share that, Sheila, and where they can find it.
Yes. So you can purchase the Magdalene Oracle on Amazon. If you're local in the Syracuse area, you can get it from me. It's in both Kindle or like ebook version, physical version, and the audio version is coming out soon. So, and when each chapter, the author has a gift that they give. We have a practice, and then you can follow a link and you can get a gift. So for me, I do teach the golden sphere meditation. That is what Magdalene taught me when I was going through the unification with my twin flame. And in that, we can do that whether we know a twin flame or not, but that helps us to find that wholeness, reconnect with that aspect of ourselves and feel that wholeness. So I do have an audio version of that if you follow the link. which you can then just sit back and receive it. And that also comes with a channeled message from Magdalene that I channeled just for people reading the book.
How
I should
beautiful.
also, I should also say that my first book, Enchanted One, The Portal to Love, is channeled messages from Magdalene and Isis with my own life experience. So that touches a little bit on my time with my twin flame, but it also really it's that came out in 2013, but the channeled messages when we talk about the time, especially from Isis, feel more pertinent now than they did back then, which as a channel
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
So there's a surge of people getting that along with this, which is good because I think that we caught up to it.
Yes. Well, you have such a beautiful essence about you. I do feel and censor both around you, but also within you. So it's always beautiful to speak with you. But before we end this conversation today, where can people find you and learn more about your work and maybe work with you?
Yeah. So it's SheilaApplegate.com. So
Easy
um,
peasy. That was easy.
easy, right? Just
Yeah, we
remember my
love
name.
easy.
And just remember the E comes first in Sheila, and it's actually Apple and Gate as the last name.
Very easy. Perfect. Well, do you have any final words that you would like to share with our viewers or listeners today to inspire them? I'm going to say it again in these transitional times.
Yeah. So to leave here today, knowing you're not alone, knowing that there is a higher power that is also you, it is a source of you, uh, that you can turn into. And what I really like to remind people who are people listening to shows like this, is that one of the most impactful things we can do for the world is to continue to raise our vibration and to keep our attention focused on what we know is beyond this time of transformation. It's already been decided. We have to play it out and we have to hold that vision that we choose for the future.
Beautiful said. Well, thank you so much, Sheila, for taking the time
Thank
to spend with us
you.
here today and for sharing your beautiful message. And to everyone joining us, thank you so much. And remember, as Sheila said, you carry something very special within, and it's up to you to embrace it and let your light shine and share it with the world. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you much love and light from me and Sheila. Until next time, bye bye.